Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Wonderful to be here in this beautiful, beautiful town, beautiful country. So, my journey into the world of blockchain began when I was 3.5 months into motherhood. I was a wreck. I had had no sleep. I had a lovely crying baby most of the time, trying to breastfeed. And I was also non-stop working, trying to create a song for a company called Sennheiser for their new, for a new song for them, for the new product. And I was really at wit's end because I was actually talking to my friend Zoe Keating, who's a brilliant musician. She was just heading off to Necker Island, as you do, to go to a blockchain summit there to play as the entertainment. And I was lamenting to her, saying, God, it's so annoying that we just don't have a place where there's one database of all the songs in the world and we can just like upload all of our information about the songs, because so much of our time is spent with admin, just like chasing money or, you know, trying to correct acknowledgements or trying to even be acknowledged in the first place. And so many people wanting to know how they might be able to do business with a song, that through all the different various channels, whether it's social media channels or in your email or somebody trying to phone you or whatever it might be, or through your publisher or your PRO or your performing rights organization, or your label or whatever it might be, your manager. All of these different streams of ways of people to try to contact you to ask how to do business with a song, because there's no information out there, whether you can license it, if you want to remix it, if you want to pay me, how do you do those things? So she said, I think there's something in this thing called blockchain. They're talking about like a decentralized database, some kind of ledger, smart contracts. I think you should look into it. Maybe there's something there. So I did. I stayed up many an hour through the night, and I started to blue sky imagine how I would like the music industry to work. And then I began an experiment, which I started to call Mycelia. Which is actually, in the real world, it's a layer beneath our feet in the forest, all the trees and mushrooms growing above the ground, but below the ground is a network of hyphae sharing information to all of these organisms above the ground. And for me, that's a great metaphor for the music industry, all this unseen layer of musicians and music makers, engineers, producers, mixing engineers, I can't think of anything now, cellists, whatever they might be. All nobody knows about them because there's no way to find out who does anything anymore. It's all, really great from the distribution side. Put a record out, put a song out, out it goes. That innovation has been really, really great. But the innovation coming back, making a circle of that loop to let the remuneration come back and the data to come back is extremely slow and fragmented and opaque. So there is the Mycelia sign. This is like an augmented play button. It's to show that perhaps a song in the future will be generating and generating money as directly as possible to the music maker and acknowledging all involved. So this, if you go onto a DSP, that's what you'd see right now with that song, which is very limited, but you'd see my name, the name of the song. It's not connected to an album, the release date and the time, and the pack cover. But this is all the information that I want to share. All of this data, all of these points of data, all these names of people involved, correct lyrics, recording credits, all these people involved, what you might have seen in liner notes in the past, extended data like the gear that I might have used on the tracks, playlist data, tags such as motherhood and colic, things like that, anxiety, that was a big one, inspiration behind the track. So much data, all of this data, all of these people, all of these places, all of this information is kind of missed opportunities for collaboration because this is all discovery. This is data for discovery, and none of this exists out there in any organized fashion at all. So what I would love to do, so I put up an experiment. It was about 3 years ago, and in London, where I just said to anyone, if they wanted to, here's all the usage rights. If you're a fan, you're a service, you're a brand, you want to sync the music, blah, 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 contact information, all there in one place on my website for free, just for people to experiment with. And then how to pay, who to pay, and how much. with some digital wallet IDs. Now, this was actually the kind of key person that came to the experiment was this guy called Phil Barry, who at the time was working for a company called Ujo Music, which is under the umbrella of Consensus. And we talked about how the splits might work, and we generated some different wallet IDs for the musicians at the time. And when anybody bought a track, it ended up directly paying the music makers straight away on the download, which seems like a pretty obvious thing. But at the moment, this is how money is distributed back to the music maker in various different formats in the UK. This is different around the world. Each single country has a different mechanism, different splits, different journey, different vertical journey. And so let's say, let's take radio. So you get the recording rights and the publishing rights. There's the songwriting and the recording. And it's split like, 17% goes to this company called the PPL, and then 50% goes to the labels, and then that split between the artist and the non-featured artist, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, sometimes this journey can take up to 2 to 3 years, which is really a very, very, very long time if you're trying to make money making music. And there's a lot of splits along the way. And at each one of these points, there's a point for something to go wrong. Somebody misspelling something. The song has multiple IDs across different countries. If it's not registered properly, it's really hard to register your song if you're a new artist, or even if you've got a manager. Even, I've been in the music for 20 years, and still there's stuff getting lost. And I've got a whole team of people working on it. So there's so much room for innovation here. So imagine that one song has its own spore, and all of that information is there doing business for the song, doing great stuff. And imagine that it might be getting this kind of data back, which is really useful. All of the people involved in that song receiving all of that data individually, whether you're a musician, you're the label, you're the publisher, you're the manager, you're the whatever you might be. And then imagine all the kind of information around all of my songs, what I call the mother spore, or what has now become the creative passport. I'll get onto that in a minute. So, world of songs, world of music makers. We have a layer, a missing layer. This layer doesn't exist in the world. It's crazy. So much stuff could happen from it. You could create all kinds of services from this. You could even invite your fans to come in and invest in you individually. You could create your own little tokens. You could have your own ecosystem. You could, by opening up the value chain and creating transparency there, anyone can come and invest in you at the moment. I mean, I know, I've tried getting money from banks, like to make a new record when I was 23, and they were like, what's your job again? And I said, my music is my job, and here's a record I've made, and here's another one I want to make. Can you give me some money, please? And they were like, no, doesn't make any sense. How do we know when the money's coming in? I'm like, well, you don't, but it probably will come, maybe. With this, we can create real opportunities for people, because they could know, using smart contracts on the blockchain, when money is going to come in and how they can get their money back. People designing festivals, from knowing about what musicians like other musicians, charities being able to find musicians who might be interested to be a part of their charity because they could say in their creative passport. Right, anyway, I'll get to that. So I was thinking 3 years ago, let's get the whole music industry to agree on ethical, commercial, technical standards, and we'll make this beautiful ecosystem. It's going to be amazing. But that didn't happen. So I thought, okay, what can I do? What can I see in the headlights? That's one of my favorite quotes, which is in my creative passport. I thought, if I could just generate my own version of what I've just said there for myself, what kinds of things could I have? It's almost like you're creating your digital home on the internet. I have multiple IDs across various different companies and digital service providers and God knows what else. But I don't have one of my own, one that I can do business with people with. So this is where this came to after 3 years of seeing lots of opportunities, lots of new services coming up onto the blockchain, but nobody really identifying this as a problem. Because it's great that all these new services are coming online, but it's also really terrifying because I've got another 40, 50, 60 services to try and negotiate with independently and upload my data and all that stuff. So yeah, you could see this basic information: my age, my name, the highlights, the projects that I'm working on, I'm about to go on a tour. Actually, I'll talk about that in a minute. There's my quote. My biography. Imagine Spotify having a correct biography about me, what I'm actually doing, that's really relevant right now. Just imagine. My roles that I'm up to, people might want to find some musician who plays the clarinet, but is also a mother and is interested in big data and nature. Maybe somebody, I don't know, the Rockefeller Foundation might be doing some research, and they might find me. Could share my current inspiration. You could have somebody could develop a service on this that would be showcasing what musicians actually were inspired by. So you could go onto a service, Imogen Heap, would take you to Zoe Keating, would take you to Amanda Palmer, would take you to whoever. You would create a real service of sharing inspiration and being able to be a beacon for other people that you love too. Okay, official accounts. From the machine side, from the business side, because actually this is a business-to-business solution. This is helping the music industry become efficient by being the connective tissue that we actually are. Each individual music maker is connected to all of the music services and all of the publishers and the labels and all the other music makers, but we're not empowered to do that digitally. So this is it comes down to identity, and it also comes down to better creative and business collaborations and partnerships, meaningful collaborations. Okay, on we go. So in this creative passport, this is a physical creative passport, but it was just a kind of demo to do this. So in here you would be able to choose your preferences. So this kind of comes back to GDPR. It's quite nice timing, actually. You could say what services would have access to what data. And the way I see it is, the way that we're developing it, is that the music makers would get these creative passports for free, and for peer-to-peer verification, one music maker to the next, we'd create this handshake across the world, like a real mycelial layer under the music industry for us to grow from. And so here we can, grow, have our preferences here about who sees what. And the services would pay to come and access this data, because essentially we're saving them a lot of time and money by being organized with our data and helping them not have to chase things left, right, and center. So they would pay a small amount to kind of come into the service, and then for people who might be scraping that database, they would be charged for the data that they find useful, that they're querying. So it's a kind of new business model for the music industry, something to a little light, perhaps. We're just doing this basic layer, which is this kind of peer-to-peer verified app for music makers, which developing and growing this layer that's missing, and with it, hopefully, to inspire services to think up all kinds of new ways to do business with us. Because a lot of people talk about streaming, that's like the be-all or end-all, but really the income that we make might be through a music lesson, or through a talk, or through a workshop, or through making a piece of music for a film. And all of these opportunities and how people find us is down to our data. It's down to our identity, our skill sets, our passions. How can we create more meaningful relationships with the people and the business that we surround ourselves with? Okay, I'm going to go in. Don't need to know about all that, but that's the kind of features that we might start to see in the Creative Passport. So there we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around the world, and we're going to be going on a little tour in September for a whole year, and we're going to visit a different city every week. Hello. And we're going to create this big music layer for music makers, for the industry to be able to grow from, because this is an amazing opportunity in time for music, for lots of people, for the world perhaps. And it's really, really important that we are part of that conversation, because many people try to build our music industry without the music makers. And it's come to a point where it's not working. It's not working at all. So let's create a sustainable, flourishing music industry. And we hope that over the next year, through music and talks and workshops, we can grow this layer from the ground up and help our music industry grow. Okay, thank you very much for listening.